Sunday night, I'd watch the practice with none of my friends. I'd turn the dial to ABC to see the creep of the week that Bobby Donald defends. But I'm out of practice.
With your host, Keith Varney.
And I'm Mike Indeglio. Bitch!
Way back in high school, most every night, my mom watched QVC, so I missed the practice. There was no TiVo, what could I do? Wait 15 years, get back! Streaming on Hulu. Out of practice.
Do I need a third monitor? Yeah, I do.
Something happened today that made me think I might need to start smoking pot again.
Uh-oh.
Out of practice.
And welcome to the Out of Practice Podcast, a weekly podcast in which me and my co-host, Mike Indeglio, discuss David E. Kelley's award-winning series, The Practice. This week, we are up to, guys, we are starting to round out season 6.
I can't believe it.
We are really, it's gonna start spinning now. So look out. We are doing season 6, episode 19, Eat and Run. How's it going, Mike?
It's going good, Keith. I should follow up on my intro bit there. It actually
Yeah, I didn't even know you stopped.
Well, it goes with the title there. Yeah, so a confluence of issues. My cholesterol when I went to the doctor was a little high, and I had a calcium, this is some boring shit to start the show. I had a calcium score test run with my heart, and though it's not high, I do have like a little bit more calcium deposit in my main heart artery, which combined with my family history is concerning at my age. Not
Sure.
bad, but considering how much cardiovascular fitness I have,
That's
it is
true.
a surprise. So
Yeah, for me, you expect to open up my heart and it's 3/4 bacon.
I've been exercising pretty frequently yet again. I've been cleaning up my diet. That's taking a little bit longer, and that in conjunction with, I should also mention, because we've talked about it on the podcast, but haven't really, I have been suffering from some vocal fatigue and allergies,
Right.
which I thought might be more serious than, I was afraid might be more serious than it actually is. Everything's fine, luckily. But I thought, you know what, I'll chill out on the marijuana for a couple weeks and just,
Oh, that's probably smart.
as I jumpstart everything and kind of, before. And so I went for a run. I did 7 miles yesterday, and then today I went to do 3. I was supposed to run 10 yesterday, but I after 7 I felt like I was done, so I was done. And then I went to do the 3 today to kind of round it out. And I've been feeling good, man. But whatever Garmin, my watch that I wear, whatever calculations it does, it tells you like, hey, you're improving, you're progressing, you're stalling, you're blah, 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 blah. But it was like, your training load is too high. You are failing. It was something negative, which I know is just the calculation screwy. But I took the watch off and I threw it across the room. It was like suboptimal, and I was like, rah! And then I was like, I haven't been raging like against the machine.
You feel
in
a
quite a while.
little high-strung there, Mike. A little high-strung.
But that also could be, Keith, because to get back to what has actually been going on, my mom says she's been a little lonely, been trying to like deal with my mom getting older and trying to help her cope with that as well. She's having trouble walking, and it's just like stuff's happening. So she really wanted to adopt pets, and I really thought it was a bad idea because really I really want her to be focusing on taking care of herself right now, not just like putting more responsibility on her, especially like young cats. Well, she found a pair of cats who are brother and sister. We went to meet them. They're really, really cool. Brought them home for her, and she didn't like even pay any attention to them. They just like went and hid, and I was like, uh-oh. And I like set up her apartment for it. I did everything, and I was like, well, Mom, Godspeed. She's like, I know what I'm doing. Well, Keith, she sent me an update today. These 2 cats who were petrified. They pulled the full Charlie Jr. They're rolling around on her lap. They love my mother. They're all over her. She's like a pig in shit. She's got these 2 buddies, new friends. It's just amazing. I'll roll some footage here.
Oh yeah. What adorable footage that you're doing in post, so I can't see it. But you said like you wanted her to focus on taking care of herself, and frankly, her mental health, having the love and companionship of the cats, is taking care of herself. I think that it might be more important than anything else. So I fully support. I think it's a great idea. We have definitely fully moved into this segment.
Yeah.
We have tried for years to make this podcast a success.
We failed.
It's time to give the world what it wants. Meow, meow. Hot cat content. Meow, meow. Hot cat content. Meow, meow. Hot cat content.
Meow.
You're gonna have to do that forever now. That's our new thing.
Yeah.
No. Well, that's great. Well, I might actually watch this segment for the first time in forever, so I can see the cats in post. I think that's really
Oh, their
great.
names. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Their names are Ollie, and he's a really sweet boy with these huge eyes, and Cindy, and her name is Cindy because she's got this really cool. She's white. She's a white cat. But she has this like black mark on her and black whiskers here, like Cindy Crawford.
Like Cindy Crawford.
Yeah. So it's really kind of clever.
We're old enough to get that reference.
And maybe just us.
Literally, maybe just us. Oh, well, that's awesome.
Keith, tell me about this.
Yeah, so this this is Charlie. This was a picture that Jillian took that I just really, really enjoy. He woke up from a long nap, and he's very majestic. He's like a lion. He's got all that fur, but sometimes when he wakes up from a long nap, he looks a little bedraggled. And I enjoyed that's the guy.
He's really now has he let himself go, or is that just his summer coat?
Yes. It's well, I mean, as when we first got him, he was a little skinny, a little bedraggled. No longer the case. And his coat has we brush him like every other day. It's his favorite thing in the whole world is to be brushed. And we take off great gobs of hair every time we brush him, but it just keeps growing. It keeps getting bigger and more majestic. But yeah, no, he's
his Technicolor puff coat.
It is definitely like a non-equity production of Cats over here. It's really quite something. All right, well, we have a lot of fun things to talk about. It's also a fun episode. So let us, with no further ado, move forward into
Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas.
What say you?
Well, first off, we should hear from our good friend and moderator, Phoenix, who literally made me laugh out loud because he's finally coming for you, Mike. He's been coming for me for 5 years, but now it's your turn. So last episode, I was going to say last episode we did the More TV segment, but I think anybody who listened to last episode is still listening to last episode, so they'll probably never get here because of it was more TV.
Mike, you know what? Nobody wants to hear the weather from all those years ago, even though that's what the segment's supposed to be about. Okay, so maybe I'll do something topical and let people know what else I've been watching other than this ancient TV show, which you wanted me to watch, and give my opinions. But God forbid I try to enlighten the people with my opinion so that they can know what's worth putting on their queue. Did I mention Schmigadoon? I've been watching that on Apple TV Plus. It's great. All right. Ted Lasso episode 2 just came out. It's wonderful. Watch that. I got a whole list, people. So buckle up because more's coming. All right, go ahead.
Well, Phoenix is then previewing the next episode because he says in the next episode, Mike shortens the More TV segment by just playing every show he's currently watching.
Well, folks, me and Keith, I want you all to know that Keith and I did experiment with like backdoor ways to actually let you all watch the episode with us on Hulu. So this podcast, which is already really long, could be even longer. But if I could, I would.
Yeah, well, we're already pushing our luck, and the only thing that protects us from that is that nobody's listening. So he also talks about, because last week, of course, was the return of Joey Herrick. Good fun. Phoenix says Joey Herrick walks in asking for help because he suspects his client is innocent. Joey, quote, as good as I am, my conscience says I should bring someone else on board with experience. Eleanor, so in addition to getting a law degree, you also picked up a conscience? Joey, drives like new, hardly any miles on it. Great joke. Phoenix says, Mike, if that joke doesn't sound familiar, it's because you neglected to hit pause while talking over John Larroquette. If I were in the room watching it with you for the first time, you definitely would not have missed it because an objection would have come flying off my foot towards your head.
Here is the irony.
Phoenix is coming for you.
The irony of that comment, and really our whole podcast, because let's be honest, we've talked over more than just John Larroquette. We have talked over plethora of not plethora.
Yeah.
Yes, a plethora of
a menagerie of
yes,
great stars.
Regardless, what's funny is that when I'm watching TV in my living room, we don't talk during the show. During commercials, we can discuss. During the action, we're mum. All right. That's why my mother's not invited here, because all she wants to do is ask 20 questions. So I was like, I'm watching the show too. I don't know who did it. Yeah. I don't know who that guy is. I just got introduced to him too. But thanks, Phoenix. You're right. Keith, did we hear from any of the cast members of the show?
It's so funny. We did. We did hear from one of the cast members. Ironically, because it wasn't even about us talking about him, we heard from Ray Abruzzo, who also pointed out that, and don't forget, I worked with John Larroquette in Night Court. And, of course, he did. He did a bunch of episodes of Night Court. And I think I tried to look it up, but I didn't actually look it up that hard. But I think he is the only person in history to have been interrogated on the stand by Joey Herrick and Dan Fielding. So that's got to be something. And then he chatted with you. Talk about him chatting with you.
Eat an espresso. Oh, yeah, we were talking about... I mentioned that we had talked about the espresso because it had just happened the day before when we recorded it. And he's like, oh, why didn't you come up and say hey? And I said, well, you just talked to like Sopranos fans for 48 hours. I figured you probably just wanted to enjoy your espresso. And
which I don't know if it's creepier to
just stare at him.
No, just like, I was there with you yesterday. I watched you eat ice cream. Like, I think that's creepier.
Yeah, it is pretty creepy. And I was going to go have a chat with him, but I decided to go play the Dolly Parton slot machine. I mean, and who wouldn't have made that choice? Oh. There was something else I was going to say. I've forgotten it. Oh, let's see how motivated Mike is, because you might have seen the screenshot of him in Night Court, but maybe not. It'll be exciting for both of us.
Phoenix, if he doesn't, I sure hope to hear from you on it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, folks, if you would like to reach out to us and join this scintillating conversation, you can reach us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com, on Facebook and Instagram at outofpractice, or just do us a big favor and it's not a favor.
Yeah.
I was going to say, write us a note below here on the YouTube, but which it's sort of a favor. And actually, it is a favor. It helps us. We like it, blah, blah, blah. But if you want to really do us a favor, and nobody has done it since, I believe, 1987, join the jury. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. I think everybody who's listening to this already has. So
yeah, I don't know that it's
find
worth
somebody
even
else
asking
to listen to us, then make them do it, because...
You know what? Here's what I would prefer. You know what? At this point, nobody's doing it, and we're gonna finish out. To those who are dedicated listeners, and we appreciate you. We take the piss all the time, but we really do appreciate it, and we appreciate those who still contribute financially. But you know what? If future listeners want to give us a rating review, so maybe people in the future can watch, not in real time. Obviously, this will exist on YouTube. Awesome. But you know what? Go on Amazon, find a product that you think we would love, and just leave the review there for that product, but review the podcast as a review for the product. Just do something silly like that. At this point, why not?
Wait. So let me just see if I can follow the logic of what you're trying to say.
Oh, there's no logic. I just started talking, and that's where we got.
So, all right. So from what I think what you were saying is go on Amazon, pick out that spatula you've been eyeballing for a couple of weeks,
like
but haven't pulled the trigger on.
Adult Depends or something.
Whatever it is. And leave a review for that spatula, but have that review be a review of our podcast? Is that what you're thinking?
I mean, that wasn't my initial thought, but that is
spatula,
the words that I said.
5 stars. What a great podcast.
Yes. I guess my point was that it'll do as much good at that point as it's doing right now. You know what I'm saying? No, you don't. No one knows what I'm saying.
I don't think you know what you're saying.
I don't. I think it's really important that we just move forward.
All right. Well, what we should do.
See, a good podcast would edit that whole thing out because it made no sense, but I'm not going to do that.
No, our podcast is incompetence. That's our whole thing. That's our brand, man.
What's ironic, Keith, is I know we should do an experiment. I think if we actually just took any discussion of the practice out of this and just uploaded videos of 2 random guys talking, we might get more views.
I don't think the drag on our podcast is the Emmy-winning series. I don't think that's what's holding us back.
It's so funny. I don't ever really get disheartened because I actually enjoy this time every week a lot. But sometimes I'm in the gym and I see my wife on the treadmill and she's running and she's doing her thing, and she'll stop and she'll turn to me and she'll be like, "I can't believe Joey Herrick, blah 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 blah," and I'll be like, you just listen to our podcast. I can't. Yep. I love that, and I'm also so saddened that it's just her.
No, I'm gladdened by it because no one in my life except for my mother listens to mine. So I am happy for the love demonstrated by CEO Jen for putting up with this for hours.
Now, Keith, I'm gonna embarrass her real quick.
Great.
And I love this, and you're gonna love it too. Not only is she listened to the podcast, not only she's CEO of the Empire,
sure,
the entire KME
Empire, yeah,
an entertainment empire, but on occasion she'll pitch ideas for the character of CEO Jen for the OOPSY Spectacular.
Oh, nice!
Like it was her idea. She's like, you know what? Let's have instead of the red carpet this past season. She's like, I'll be in the boardroom and I'll give like a state of the podcast. I mean, she's pitching.
Like,
she's got some ideas for what's coming up. So we'll see.
Excellent. I'm really, really excited. I think maybe I should get Charlie to play a role.
My idea is let's do something for sweeps. Let's do the death of CEO Jen, or like leave it on a cliffhanger. Like somebody comes in like in a nun's habit and just like murders her.
She gets stabbed? I don't know. This seems pretty aggressive.
It does. She found it to be too dark. She's like, my bits are usually comedic in nature. I was like, oh yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah. We're not the show is a drama. We're not a drama.
No. Well, we are dramatic, and I'd say we're more of just a sheer tragedy, you and I.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Well, enough with the contemporaneous navel gazing. Let's do some back in time navel gazing in a segment we call
This Day in the Basement.
So this episode aired on May 5th, the year 2002. So Mike, tell me what was going on.
Keith, I was performing in my senior showcase, which I will show next week so that we don't make this podcast 12 hours long, because I know you have some things to share this week, and I also have to I had to figure out the way to get it off of a VHS. I got a VCR, and but that's it. So Keith has showed me a product that will do it for me, and I will
Yes.
purchase said product. But in addition, we had our graduation, and for our commencement,
So you graduated this early and like all the way
yes.
through. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
because early next year will be my first gig. So this was, interestingly, my apartment lease was up, so I end up getting, well, we'll get there when we get there. But for after our commencement, they said two things. Well, I should tell you, Jim Dale was the speaker who,
Oh, fun.
if you're not super versed in theater, he's just a staple as a performer on
Barnum,
stage.
Me and My Girl. He also voices the Harry Potter books.
The entirety of the Harry Potter books. If you listen to the audiobooks of Harry Potter, and if you haven't, you should.
It's Jim Dale, yeah.
It's Jim Dale, and he creates, I think it's somewhere upwards of like 800 characters in that.
Yeah, it's a remarkable performance.
It's a remarkable performance. I enjoyed the books, but I went back and listened to all of them because Jim Dale. And one of the
Rowling
things
aside.
yeah, one of the things that he said, which has proven so remarkably true, was that, it was a cautionary sort of thing that he said, and he said, this is an amazing business, and I wish you all the success and luck that I got along the way, because it will take a lot of luck and success to have a sustained career. But with whatever success you have, or however deep you go, or whatever avenue you take in the plethora of tracks there are under the umbrella of the performing arts, the arts in general, being an artist, you do sacrifice a little bit of the magic. We are in some ways magicians, and once you are in on the trick, you never can really fully sit there and look at something, watch something, experience something without a little bit of your brain clocking how it's done, if you are truly passionate, and not as a critic, but
Right.
sometimes as a critic, but mostly because to learn, you need to see people do it wonderfully and then dissect it.
Figure out how they did it. Yeah.
How was it? And why are you feeling the feelings you're having? Why is this successful, whereas maybe something else wasn't as successful? What is giving me this feeling right now? Is it the lighting? Is it the alchemy of multiple things? And parsing that is what you end up doing in any profession. But and that is proven to be true. There have been experiences in my life where I've just wanted to let go, but I can't fully. I think I've mentioned on the podcast a few times before, there are times, and usually they are in mediums in which I have zero facility. So watching dance,
Yeah.
I often am able to fully get invested and magicked by the performance. Like, they are not performers to me. They become almost magical creatures, nymphs that can just do something magical that I just can't physically. I mean, I find that with gymnastics and some physical feats as well, but sticking with, or watching an amazing jazz musician improvise, that is something that I can get lost in the magic of. There are performances that elevate me, to suspend all disbelief, but it is few and far between. And that is something he said that really is, I never thought about, but has proven true.
It's really interesting because he's 100% right, and certainly 20 years into this business, that has borne out to be true. And for me, and I'm sure for you as well, it's like I went through that in two stages, because I started out as a singer and performer, and so I learned all of that, all of the machinery, all the magic on the performing side, and then also as a writer. As a book writer, as a composer, all of that. I'm watching now. I go and see a show. I'm watching it with both of those hats, plus the producer hat, plus the whatever hat. It's important, I think, to, while we acknowledge that we have to, put on our analytical brain, to intentionally not put aside the analytical brain, but value the fan part, because it's been a part of me that I've been thinking about for the last couple of years and wanting to intentionally refocus my energies to remind myself I'm a fan first, and to allow myself to be a fan of the show that I'm writing or the actor that I'm seeing, in the same way that I'm about television, because like I'm not a part of that world, sadly, but like in theater, like I'm a fan too. So I've been like going and like listening to. I stopped listening to cast albums. I stopped doing all. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to intentionally just throw on a different cast album, like one that's recent that I haven't heard before, and just listen to it as a fan and analytically as well. But anyway, it's a really good point.
I want to just piggyback on it because I was thinking about this during my run the other day, and then I'll shut up. Along with that, and to the point that you just brought up, I've been thinking a little bit about how the political climate and the sort of socio-political climate right now, there's a lot of fear, and a lot of it earned, about what can I say, what should I say, what is my past, what can be criticized about my past work or my past, and that's...
Sure.
And I wish I could remember the pundit or performer who said this. I'm not gonna be able to attribute the quote. I apologize. If I can look it up, I'll put it down below. But someone had changed their stance about whatever topic, or their past work had they tried to do a gotcha on them because they're like, well, you're saying this now, but your song from such and such a time says this.
Sure.
What they said was. And basically the question was, doesn't it make you a hypocrite? And the quote was, I'd rather be a hypocrite than a human being who never changes or evolves. Because we should be evolving and changing our minds. And why I bring that up is because often you and I rightly criticize the writing or David E. Kelley for stances they held 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I want that to be known that we are bringing that up 20 years later, that we're not watching these in a vacuum, and we are not criticizing the person, nor am I lambasting are we ever criticizing, we are criticizing, but that's not to say that these people can't change or evolve, or that David E. Kelley's work today still reflects those issues. I thought it was important to parse that because I'm sure we enjoy his work, and it is a snapshot of where media was at that time period, and I think that's what we're pointing out.
No, for sure, and certainly I can say with confidence that there is stuff that I've written, stuff that's out there that I would not write the same way today, and in many ways I regret having done, not because I didn't have the best of intentions at the time, but I didn't have as much information then as I have now. So, I think it's more incumbent upon us to learn than it is to get everything right the first time. And so I think that's, and now if my intentions were shitty 10 years ago, right, and I was like trying to make fun of or trying to hurt somebody, trying to punch down in some way, then that was shitty then, and that remains shitty today. But if my intentions were good, but my knowledge was bad, I think it's just a different thing. So,
Keith, to segue a little bit, if only there were some sort of documentation of some of the work that you put out into the universe so many years ago.
Yeah,
what do you have as far as that's concerned?
And well, I've got a biggie, but I've one last tiny little question. How big was your class that graduated?
Actually, it's interesting. It's for a whole nother conversation for another time, because I've been trying to do some reading about, we entered into that program with the understanding that we could get a BFA through the New School University. What they didn't really tell you was that you had to do a whole nother 3 years of schooling at the New School. I thought it was just we can't give the credited degree. We give it through another school. So I did graduate with a sort of bait and switch, which is
thinking you had gotten a BFA, but you clearly had not.
Or that it was just like, I have to go and just like take a class over here and then they get the back door in, which is shitty on my part for not doing that, but I'm not for nothing. Anyhow,
I'm just wondering, was it you, Jim Dale, and like 6 other people in the room?
No. I would say there were probably 200 people in my graduating class.
What? AMDA was that big?
Yeah. There's a lot of people go there. It's broken into sections, so there. You know what? I'm maybe 150.
I was thinking it was more like Circle in the Square, and there was like 15.
No. Now, that's how many people started the program, and then some people graduated that summer because they took the summer off, and then some people did not jury into the second semester. Nowadays, they don't let anybody go, but they did jury people out before. I'd like, okay, it was about 100 people. I guess there was 20 people per section, and there were A, B, C, D, E, F, 6, 20, so that's at 120. 100 people.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's much bigger than I thought it was. All right. Anyway, neither here nor there. I was just imagining like you and Jim Dale and like having a cup of coffee because that was it.
That would have been awesome.
All right. Well, as you tried to transition over, this was actually, it was a couple of weeks before this, but the practice took 3 weeks off, which was rude. But on April 21st, the year 2002 was, as I mentioned before, a monumentous day in my life. And this was indeed my senior recital at Eastman. Wow, there it is.
Look at that guy.
Look at that guy, just fashion. Woo! All of that, so much fashion. But there I am in Kilbourne Hall with Chapel Kingsland, who was my accompanist, and a string quartet. And see, here's the interesting thing. I spent probably a couple of hours, not going through the recording of my senior recital, trying to find 30 seconds I wasn't, 30 consecutive seconds I wasn't embarrassed during.
Which listeners will note is hours more than you prepared for your dress rehearsal.
A million times more. And so I'll just play a little bit while I'm talking. But I still, I'm struggling with myself because I listened to my recital and I sort of, it's weird. I have this vanity within myself where I'm still hypercritical of everything I did and sort of embarrassed of it. But at the same time, I was also like, you know what? It wasn't that bad. It was, there are parts where clearly my voice is sort of given out or whatever, and that's embarrassing. But yeah, I could sing all right.
That's actually a really great place to be. I had a friend visit last night, and we were trading YouTube videos of some stuff, and I've been practicing trying to listen to myself, and he's just was talking about how much of a fan of my voice he is, and I hate my voice, but I'm trying in my life to allow I can have my feelings and still let people be a fan. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, and it's I think you're just, I don't know. There is sort of that insecurity that lives there forever, where I really just struggled through the recital. But I was like, yeah, okay.
Well, and anyway. This isn't the music that your passion lies in, right? So did you get to do anything that was not classical in nature?
I did. So here is my rundown. I sang "Thou Shalt Break Them" from the Messiah. Then I did 3 Hugo Wolf German pieces. Then a set of French. And 3 French tunes. Then I sang "Ah Lève-toi Soleil" from Romeo and Juliet, a Gounod. That was before the intermission. Then I did "On Wenlock Edge," Ralph Vaughan Williams with the string quartet. And then I did "Corner of the Sky," of course. I bet you did too. Mm-hmm. Then I did "Love I Hear" from Funny Thing, and then I finished with "Gethsemane" from Superstar.
Yeah, I'd love to hear you sing that. Actually, I think you've played me it. Actually, I think you did it on a Varney Brothers Christmas.
Well, God, when I was 18, Jesus, that was a long time ago. Anyway, so here's what I think was most interesting about my senior recital.
and I want to hear that, but I just to force you to reckon with your insecurity.
Yes.
I wanted to put this up.
Thank you. That's
Continue, please. Damn, your hair hasn't changed a whit.
Yes, it has though. My hair is creeping up. There's like a full inch further down on my forehead. And
you're moving into 5-head territory. It's true.
Oh, God damn it. That is like, okay, so I'm still fat and I've, still got the weird, at least I have a full beard, not a goatee. And like, it's never like great going on there, but it is upsetting to know that I've definitely lost an inch or two.
Hey, dude, at our age, buddy, you got hair. And
I know.
Count your chickens.
I don't mind if it goes gray. I just would like to retain it. And boy, it is creeping. God, that's the worst.
I'm full Doc Brown gray.
Yeah, well, you and me too. Anyway, so here's the thing. You can take that off anytime now.
No, that's cool.
So here's the thing about my senior recital that was so impactful for me. And it wasn't the recital itself. But I was talking to Jillian about this too. I had one of those life-changing moments. Like, I had a genuine epiphany during this recital, and not everybody gets this, and I feel very grateful to have this. I was finishing up at the intermission. I was singing the À Levatoire Soleil, and I was singing the big high note at the end. And in that moment, I realized, hey, I'm not having any fun. I'm not really enjoying this. And I don't think this is what I want to do. And I'm a musical theater kid. I want to do musical theater. And I walked off for intermission, and at that moment I realized my opera classical career was done. And that I was going to move to New York and do musical theater for a living. And it was one of those things that I think I had been wrestling with subconsciously for a long time, but it wasn't really clear to me until that moment. For whatever reason, I remember exactly where I was, and I remember I was exiting stage right and going through those brown doors, and that is the moment that I realized that nope, this is not for me.
Man, we're getting philosophical this episode.
Yeah.
It's once again the irony, the synchronicity. I had a journaling moment last night because I said something to a friend of mine. He's a dear friend, and he's just turned 30, so his different stage of life.
Sure.
And he's walking such a similar path, beat by beat, that I did, that I do feel qualified to impart a little bit of wisdom. And what you just said is something I believe to be true. And that is, in the critical junctures of our lives, of our journeys, our gut feeling will generally give you the guidance you need.
Yeah.
You know the answer to the question somewhere.
Yeah.
But especially in our line of work, and I'll limit it so I don't paint with too broad a brush, especially in New York City in the arts, it is so easy to get detached from our guts and listen to, this is how you're supposed to do it. Let me try to emulate, because there's no linear path to what we're trying to do. You try to emulate other people and their paths and try to formulate a strategy based on things you're observing and things you've heard secondhand to get you to where you think you might want to go. And you stop listening to just yourself. And what you just said right there, at 18, how old are you here? 20 years old?
21.
21 years old. That, you go back to that, right? Like, you remember it so vividly because you were right. Like, the entire course of your life is different had you not listened to that, Keith.
No.
So that's where we are. Even in our 40s, I think like when life has a lot more difficult decisions, if we can quiet the noise, generally speaking, you got to be able to trust your gut.
No, and I did listen to myself. It was almost like I wouldn't let myself not.
Yeah.
And I was at that pivot point, and I mentioned, I think the week before, like I turned down a week at Ohio Light Opera. A summer. And I didn't know why really until this moment. And I was like, nope, that's like, I've been pushed in this direction. I've been going in this direction for all this time, and that's not where I want to go. And anyway, so like I'm very grateful, to be clear, I'm very grateful that I went there. I'm grateful that I got that training and I learned that, and I don't regret really having done it. It benefits my life every single day. But I'm also very grateful that I knew in that moment that nope. And so that was it. And so coming up, I will be graduating shortly, but I did pass. My senior recital passed. So very happy about that. All right, so that's enough of that. We need to zoom out.
I do want to say, as a teaser, I think it's cool. I was looking at, because, you had all these emails. You have a good access to a lot of stuff from this time period. We're moving into the period of time, because we still have, 3 seasons left?
2
seasons left, where I actually have media of things that were happening. And as you leave Rochester, my first gig, I do a week here in Pennsylvania, but then we go to Rochester for almost a year. So I found some video footage. It is not flattering, but of my first gig in Rochester. So I can't wait. No
kidding.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'll be fun. So we just missed each other.
Yep. 2003, I go in.
2003. Yeah. So I was gone. Interesting. All right. Well, let's find out. Now you know in great detail what we were doing on May 5th, the year 2002. Let's talk about what else was going on in the world.
It's time for the Out of Practice Podcast's This Day in the World. The greatest hits, the biggest movies, headlines from Vermont, essential sports updates, and for some inexplicable reason, the weather from 20 years ago. Now back to Keith and Mike.
It cannot be overstated what a great read that is.
Oh, I mean, Eric's he's a professional.
Yeah, he's great.
Dude knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's a...
I'm sure that was a one-take wonder, too.
It was pretty close. Yeah, I just like, and it was great because this one we were in Cape May, and like you're just eating breakfast. I'm like, Eric, you want to read something from my podcast? He's like, sure. Do you want to know what it is? Nah.
Yeah. Why would I want to know?
All right, sure. What the hell? All right, so here we are. The top song playing in post is "Foolish," performed by Ashanti. The local cover of the Burlington Free Press talked about a maple tree debate. Boy, let me tell you what's going. Vermont headline news is a debate about maple trees. I couldn't see from the thumbnail what the debate was, but I'm sure it was riveting.
Something to do with plugging it. I'm sure it has wild sexual overtones.
Only you would find wild sexual overtones about a maple tree.
Well, go back and listen to the early podcasts.
You probably shouldn't. And the top movie, folks, this was the opening weekend of Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire's first.
Tobey Maguire, the Sam Raimi film, which sort of kicked off our superhero chaos. So huge opening, huge movie. Fun one. It's a good movie. So that's what was going on in the world. Now it's time for everybody's favorite segment.
Wait, Keith, wait.
It's time.
Why are you upside down?
You tell me.
I
Spider-Man, baby.
We're not going to kiss.
That scene.
No, wrong way.
Oh, man, nerd joke, and it really worked for me.
Oh, that was bad.
Oh, wait, maybe in post I can put Kristen Chenoweth. Kristen Chenoweth.
Why, is Betty Buckley not available?
Who is it, Kirsten Dunst?
Yeah, it's Kirsten Dunst. Oh, my God.
Anyway, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's time for sports ball.
Oh, things are sad in the NHL. While we were away, the Flyers were knocked out of the playoffs in the first round, 4-1 against the Ottawa Senators. The Flyers won Game 1 in overtime. Thriller won the nothing, but amazingly, the Flyers only scored 2 goals the entire series. Meanwhile, the Bruins also lost in round 1 to the evil Montreal Canadiens in 6 games. It was, not surprisingly, a nasty series, and we've got a clip.
Hopefully.
Here it is. So this is in Game 6.
Oh, shit!
PJ Stock was one of the great fighters for the Bruins back in the day. They are going, and then later this happens. I cannot defend this. I love the Bruins, but
What did he do?
he killed him. That was Kyle McLaren just obliterating Zednik completely unnecessarily.
Shit.
Yeah, so that's the end of that clip. I cannot defend my good Bruins there in that moment.
It should be noted, Keith, that's ostensibly what Phoenix Cage attempted on me today. That type of a hit.
Yeah, well, he was up in the game, but down in the series, needed to send a message, and it broke Zednik's face.
I have to just say this is such a non sequitur, but it will
that'd be a first.
Clear. We had to move a bunch of shit out of my mom's house, and my brother and I were just trying. My brother's a huge, strong guy, and I'm, me. And we just could not get this shit out. It's this giant hutch. We couldn't do it. And my mom's like, I've got a hand truck. And we're like, Mom, how is we going to get, that thing's not going to have any chance if we can't lift it up. She reels this little hand truck out, looked just like that, but green. And guess what?
No problem. Leverage.
She was like,
it's all about angles, man.
I talked about my mom being feeble. Guess what? She's still smarter than me.
Yeah, well, she may be feeble physically, but she's not feeble-minded like her sons. There it is.
Fair.
Zing. We're all going for Mike today. I'm
a human being, God damn it!
I'm a human being, God damn it! My life has value, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
It's time to talk about the damn episode!
47 minutes.
47 minutes. Mike, we all really love you. You're doing a really good job.
Thanks, man. When I texted Keith, I was like, I got to do everything in post. I got no time.
All right. We are now talking, finally. Ooh, you've got a candle. Oh, so fancy. That's there's a lot going on over on Mike's window today. A lot of things are happening. Yeah. He has a lot to contribute. This is exciting. We are talking about Season 6, Episode 19, Eat and Run. It is written, guess what? It's David E. Kelley again. He is back. He is in charge. He wrote this episode all by his lonesome. It is directed by veteran director Dennis Smith, who last directed M. Preemie Unplugged. And that leaves us with only one last thing to do.
What is that supposed to mean?
What's your problem?
Is this what happens to women when you insert your penis?
What?
What does Mike think's gonna happen?
My camera's reversed. I'm doing the wrong thing.
What if he would have drank the curdled milk?
Oh.
Then what would have happened?
He's like, let me go. I want to eat the fish.
What's up, Tux?
Listen, there's fallout from last week. Bobby's pissed. Jimmy's pissed. Everybody's pissed. People are pissed. I think Joey Herrick's back. I see Eugene. I don't know what the main plot line is, but the B story this week
Just gonna go to the B story.
is that Eugene and Jimmy finally go to lunch. After all the joking Keith and Mike have done, they go to lunch to squash the beef. After all these episodes,
You want a
we're
roast
finally
beef
gonna,
sub? Huh?
We're
You
going to
want a
finally
roast
put
beef?
it to rest.
not
While
a
they're
friendship
there, someone in the restaurant, Eugene is like, wow, the steak's really tough or something. Someone else in the restaurant chokes to death. And the crew has to defend the civil case or do the civil case for the victim's family.
What are you saying? My sub shop killed somebody? What's
No.
going on with that?
No, it was the hot dog tuna fish sandwich that we told you was a bad idea.
A delicious love sandwich.
Yeah, but there's too much to jam. There's just too much to jam in. And
Maybe
it's
you
going to
should
be a
try
choking
chewing,
hazard.
huh? I didn't tell you not to chew.
Well, I mean, if this is going to be truly a friendship hot dog, there should be no chewing. It should be the teeth should not be involved whatsoever.
I just short-circuited like 1,000 things I might have said.
Hey, guys, do you want to know something?
Yes, I would.
If you would like to listen to us talk about the actual episode, you can do that by jumping over to your podcast service of choice, click on the QR code, which I guess I'll also do in post for no reason whatsoever.
For no reason. No one has ever used it.
We'll see you back for the after show. And we are back,
Back, baby, with co-host, it's Charlie.
Hey, what's up, Charlie boy?
He was upstairs and he was bored. Now he gets to participate in our after show. All right. Well, you know what it's time for, and I can't hit the button because I'm holding Charlie. Let me Mike has 30 seconds to remember what just happened on the show. Segment.
Hey, guys. Some guy who thinks he's Hannibal here, and he's got the face shebang and all. And we've only got a day to prepare to defend him. He may be crazy. He may have done it. There may be another guy. We don't really know. They dropped some breadcrumbs, which lead us to believe there might be a second episode. But at the end of the day, Lindsay is petrified. She's stalked again. Bobby's an asshole. And Eugene does such a great close, he walks out.
Yeah, there it is. Well, okay, thank you for spilling all over my desk. You know, you bring a cat onto the podcast because he's bored to try to make his life a little bit more interesting. And he knocks over your Coke Zero because that's what happens. But while I'm cleaning it up, can you bat cleanup on your recaps in a segment we call...
Hannibal Lecter. Is he nuts? Or is he real? Lecter ate and ran.
Well done, sir. Well done. Another excellent haiku from Mr. Mike Indeglio. Now, it's time to hand out some hardware, folks, in a segment we call...
The Out of Practice Podcast, in unofficial, unsolicited, unfactual association with David E. Kelly Productions, proudly present
OOPSY.
The OOPSYs! Celebrating excellence in acting good, lawyering good, guesting good,
Johnny!
and being Tom Brady.
Tommy!
Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff. Now, here are your hosts, Keith and Mike.
What the hell are the OOPSYs?
Well, Jackie, they're a fake awards show. I don't know. Is it real yet? It might be
I
real.
feel like 6 seasons in at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of them. But we always, whether it's fake or real, we begin with... Never stops being funny.
Well, we have to really get into some philosophical questions here. By our general benchmarks, Keith, if the goal of our lawyer is to successfully defend our client, then the firm wins this week and would probably not have had it not been for that swoop-in last-minute close by Eugene Young. So, vis-a-vis, he gets awarded my oopsie. Was it a great move for Lindsay? No, but...
No, it's a no-brainer. Of course it's Eugene. Like, yes, of course. In the real world, it wasn't so hot. You know, it wasn't the most valuable, I don't want my friend to get murdered guy. It was the most valuable lawyer. So, yeah, of course it's Eugene. Eugene crushed it in his close.
It does feel, though, like, we'll talk about, we'll talk about it in tires. I was just going to say, I feel like as an audience member, I feel like they didn't dictate to the jury what their decision was enough for me. Because...
jury instructions about the implications of the various verdicts. Yeah, I didn't get that instruction as a jury member. I could have used that as an audience. What are the rules when you have insanity?
That's what I'm saying.
Versus, yeah.
I'm sure that they were given. It seemed like Eugene was surprised that he was expecting a not guilty but still
by
insane
version of insanity.
Yeah, there's got to be like some sort of version of that where he still goes to insane prison, but like they didn't really dictate that to us, so it left me a little confused.
Yeah, I think there's, and again, this is the wrong segment for it, but I think there is guilty, not guilty by way of insanity, and not guilty. And the jury chose flat not guilty because of the second killer.
Yeah, because
And because the charge was murder, not cannibalism and body disposal, which Helen tried to do at the end. So from their perspective, if there's another killer out there, then maybe, then there might be reasonable doubt in terms of the murder. There wasn't reasonable doubt whether he ate them, but that wasn't the charge. So that's on Helen.
Yeah.
That's on Helen for not including those charges specifically, because you have first degree, second degree, third degree murder. You add on top of that this other charge, but she was so confident she was going to get the murder that she forgot, I guess, to put those other charges in there. And so this is really all Helen's fault. It's not Eugene's fault. It's Helen's fault. All right. Well, that's their most valuable lawyer. Let's bring our best. This is like running from the serial killer dance for.
Already famous cause you've been on TV, getting a paycheck. Or the first entry on your IMDb. Way to go. But you're the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor on the episode.
Guys, if you're not watching this on YouTube, you're really missing out on some comedic gold. The bumpers don't just play, okay?
Yeah. We really get into our craft.
A multimedia experience. Not all experiences are good. But
4D.
4D.
Hey, shout out to that lawyer who had his nose bit off. Congrats for the IMDb credit. Great job by the victim's parents who were like, "What? He ate my daughter."
No, that was the killer's parents.
Oh yeah. Okay. The better impression. What? He ate their daughter.
Yeah.
I don't think they want him out on the street.
Should have fed him more, I guess.
Yes. Listen. We played the Massachusetts bumper, all that stuff, but here's the thing. He went a different way. He did not chew the scenery.
No, he actually didn't.
They did all the scenery chewing via camera work and jump scares and the mask and stuff. So I thought that was restraint in both direction and in performance. And the Hannibal Lecter guy.
Yeah, Christopher Shire. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean obviously it's him, and you're right. I think because we have had such scene chewing killers out there, and obviously you had Hanks and you had Michael Monks and we just had John Larroquette. I think it was a good decision to be more restrained here and let the mask do the work. So congratulations, Christopher Shire, on your Best Guest Actor Award. Here comes the next one.
You killed your podiatrist or blew the case, but you let a single tear run down your face. You're the best actor on the show.
We got some really great use of most of our cast. Even got Marla a scene in there, and we got to see Rebecca-Ing. We got to see, I guess Cameron didn't get to do too much, but she did get to whip out her superpower face acting. We got to see Steve Harris being pissed off.
Eugening.
Listen, to Dylan, we might hate Bobby in this episode and hate everything he's doing, but I viscerally have a passionate distaste for what's happening, and that ain't Dylan McDermott. The actor, he is acting.
He's playing the character.
Portraying Bobby Donnell, and that is to be commended, because you don't read the script and go, "Oh, goody, I get to be a douchebag this week,"
Right.
Especially when you're the lead of a show. But that all said, I think we're probably in agreement. I think Kelly Williams.
Yeah.
Look, there are times when the stakes. It might feel like it's easy. Oh, the stakes are so high for this character. That must be easy to get to a place. I think at some point they get so high that it can almost go to a place of like, where some artifice could enter in, and at no point is that the case. From the personal drama to the relationship drama, there's level. It's just authentic. It's heart-wrenching and it's beautiful, and it's easy to handle the oopsie.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is Kelly's best work of the series so far, in my opinion. Because I think, you talk about how the material helps or hurts you. In this case, I think the material helped her, because the emotional journey that she was on made sense. It was sort of like based on the cumulative experience of this character. This completely makes sense. This is exactly what the character should be feeling in this way. And so she has the opportunity to just go for the ride of that scene. It was very well written, very well explained. I thought her character was articulated what was going on really well, and Kelly supported that with, I frankly think it's her best work of the series. So congratulations, Kelly Williams, with your Best Actor Award. Coming up on somebody who allegedly might also be a serial killer.
The Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
Some people say that Tom Brady's a serial killer. That is not the official. The Out of Practice podcast is not saying that or inferring that. Just some people are saying.
So, along those lines, Keith, Have these been happening, by the way? I keep wanting to commend your previous work, but then I realize I'm just like saying things.
Look, I've been busy. The Star Trek show is so much graphics. I promise I'm going to do them before. This is your reason to watch the season-ending oopsies, because we will get them all in a row. We'll take a little bit more time because most of them will not have been seen before.
So
we will show.
Yeah, and it does force you to actually have to like watch our shows a little bit, at least enough to remember what I said. This week's winner for the Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady is Tom Brady, who just ate ... something.
Tom Brady, who just ate something.
Exactly.
Perfect. Congratulations, Tom Brady, who just ate something. Next up.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce how many spare tires this episode gets.
All right, so we're firing away, kids. We are narrowing down the season. I'm
so curious what you're going to say. Yeah.
I have to imagine, due to factors and how close we are to the end of the season, that this plot arc is not complete. that we are going to continue. But I can't say that with certitude because it doesn't say part 1. It doesn't say to be continued.
That's right.
There's no indication that it continues. However, I find it hard to believe that, one, they leave that hanging Chad, if you will, the Clarissa thing.
Topical.
That with no explanation, or we don't revisit it, that we just let him off scot-free after saying that he wants to save Lindsay and send her to heaven, i.e. eat her, and just end the episode. And then we never hear about it again, and we just like start something new for the next, what is there, 2 episodes left? 3 episodes?
2 left. 3 left. I don't know.
So,
an amount left.
So I'm pretty, and David's writing again, so I feel like we're gonna revisit it, but I guess we rank these in a vacuum. So it's funny because of how viscerally we kind of dissected the Superman plot, and this is the same plot, ostensibly. But I really thought this was much more successful. I thought that the homage to Silence of the Lambs worked because they commented on it. And they commented on the silliness of it only once, and then they used that skepticism towards what we might feel about the episode towards their client, which I thought was an interesting parallel that helped the show. I thought the writing was also better, and I thought that the emotional stakes and beats for our characters better aligned tonally throughout the episode's journey, better than previously. I also thought it was incredibly shot. I also thought it was really well directed. The jump scares were homages to the Silence of the Lambs and fit with the tone of the episode. In any other episode, we'd be like, whoa, what the hell was that? But that's what this was about. It was a gothic horror episode, right? A suspense-filled sort of... you can't downplay really interesting relationship drama, which I think is super grounded and super earned. You know, we've been bitching about Bobby this whole episode, and Lindsay got her chance to explode. Now, you could say that, the apology at the end is mansplaining and all those things, but it wasn't like she was over it. She's like, our marriage is going to fail because of this. You know, it's not like they just kissed and made up. That is an ongoing plot point as well. Eugene being sort of disillusioned. I think you can almost see him self-recognize that he's talking out of both sides of his mouth sometimes. He's like, we got to fight for our clients, but like, what are we doing here? Which is a question we used to visit every episode at the bar. Yeah. But we really haven't explicitly stated and questioned. And I think it's a great way to kind of bring us back to where we began. And I love that we end emotionally unresolved here. We did our job, we won, but we let a psychopath out that the whole trial, even in our closing, we said he's a psychopath. Like, Eugene he sums it down. He doesn't even need a haiku. What are we doing here? That's really it. That's it. That's the thesis statement. And I think I'm really interested in where we all are and where we're going. And you have to, at least we do know that there's only 3 episodes left. Like, where are we going to bring this? And Helen, her journey up to now, and like where she left. She lost the case because of absolutely the other case that they didn't disclose, and they didn't bring the right charges. They didn't bring the lesser charges. Mistakes were made. She lost the case as much, if not more, than they won it. All of these things, a lot of times we get great little pieces, but they don't fit together well. Somehow, these all fit together really, really well and set the table really well. I'm excited about it. Did I like it more than Joey Herrick? I liked it different. Mm-hmm. I liked it different. I thought on the whole, it's definitely a better episode. It's the direction is to be applauded. The cinematography was excellent. The performances were so excellent, and it was an ensemble performance. And wasn't there wasn't one character who sucks the air out of the room, which is what Joey Herrick does, and we get it, and it's cool. I think I'm going to bump myself a little. I'm going to overtake myself from last week, and
Wow.
I'm going to give it 9.1 spare tires.
Wow. Okay. That's
The Clarissa thing.
there's unfinished business there.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. If you like, let's pretend we're in a vacuum, and let's say before I saw this episode and I didn't know all the things that are coming because I hadn't seen it before, you said, okay, so here's the pitch. We're going to have another serial killer. This one is going to think he's Hannibal Lecter, and he's going to be a cannibal. And we're going to have to do this. And he's going after Lindsay again. And he's going to call her Clarissa, Clarice, whatever. I would be like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you going to do another one of these? It's going to be schlock. And yet, this episode executes that better than actually most of the ones coming before it. And I'll tell you why. Because the emotional beats make sense. And you referenced this too, that it's not just a crazy scene chewing. I always get, by the time the oopsies, I'm inverting words. It's sad. But you don't just have like this crazy serial killer. It's about the emotional beats for everybody else. And because those really made sense and the character work made sense, and it didn't take place in a vacuum so that we forgot that this is the third time a serial killer has latched on to Lindsay. All of that, even though, on paper, it's so ridiculous. But like they did when they acknowledged the silliness of having him be Hannibal Lecter, they acknowledged a little bit the silliness of this having been the third time. And yet, and I think sort of took the air out of the ridiculousness a little bit by A, acknowledging it, and B, having the emotional elements, the emotional beats make sense, and the character work makes sense. And that's sort of what we're having. Bobby's weaknesses are coming to the forefront here. And to everybody's credit, they're consistent. Mm-hmm. Like, Bobby's sort of waspy, toxic masculinity, his sort of like pretend everything's fine when it's not, his obsession with his image, whether it's the public image or even within the firm. He was more concerned when Lindsay broke down. What was he concerned about? Was he concerned that my traumatized wife is being chased by a third serial killer and she's in this horrible trauma and pain and agony and fear that she's in? No, Bobby was worried about her embarrassing him in front of the firm. Mm-hmm. If that's not toxic, I don't know what is. But that has been consistent. Bobby has always had this weakness. And so we've been sort of setting this up. And so I liked that. I mean, I don't like the character, and I've said this before, and especially on the rewatch, I'm wondering, what is there to like about Bobby? Honestly. I mean, he's insanely attractive and he's a good lawyer, but he's kind of a douchebag in all other contexts. And it's really funny because like you have unlikable leads of plenty of shows, especially in contemporary times, but I don't think David E. Kelly wrote this as a unlikable lead story.
Anti-hero. Yeah.
He's not an anti-hero. He's just an unlikable character, but not with intent even. I think we're supposed to be on his side. I think we're supposed to like him.
It's an interesting point because, and I only watched a little bit of Boston Public or Boston Legal, but it's sort of the Denny Crane character is sort of like another swing at, oh, well, this time let's make him, instead of like a D-bag, he's just a blowhard, but he's a really great lawyer, right? And I think that
but in a more comedic lens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think he found some success with Ally McBeal, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, this works. This tone works."
And what makes Bobby so unlikable through all of these failings is how seriously he takes himself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Denny Crane does. He knows he's a blowhard.
Yeah.
Bobby takes everything so seriously. He has no sense of humor about himself. He has no self-awareness about himself.
For all of those things I've seen, you see it are, yes, I agree with all of that. But what really sours me to him, and I think this is intentional as well, because Eugene, the character, is conflicted often because he's so consistent in his ideals.
Right. He can be rigid.
Yes. Whereas Bobby, my trouble with him, and I enjoy that. I mean, that is very natural. You would feel that way. Bobby, I feel, is just so often hypocritical because he'll get on somebody's case about doing something, but we can cite so many examples of him doing the exact same thing of changing his priorities or just being a D. So he's been consistently that way.
Yeah. Well, Bobby is a classic narcissist, which is why he's consumed with himself and his image. So he's not a good partner. He doesn't clock. He's not thinking about Lindsay's point of view through any of this. It's all about him, and he's displayed that over and over and over again.
Because I think when this show was pitched and when he got cast, this is not the character he thought it was. I think he thought he was going to be hero man from start to finish, and as it's kind of grown and Bobby has developed, Dylan has still performed him with commitment, and he's brought a lot to it. A lot of what, it's hard to hate Bobby, like, because if Bobby's awesome in the next episode, I'm like, yeah, but it's Bobby McRam. But Dylan has done great work.
Well, no, he really has, and
until
I also
they kill
wonder,
him off next year or whatever.
It's funny how it comes full circle from what we were talking about before. Like, I think the ground has shifted on this character over 20 years. Mm-hmm. 20 years ago, we weren't really, toxic masculinity wasn't a word, wasn't a phrase. And
it was sort of just default.
This was just like manly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And not really just clocking how toxic all of that is. So I don't know if people watching this in 2002 were clocking just how shitty Bobby is. And, and they clocked it a little bit, but they sort of forgave so much that, just like his physical appearance sort of let him get away with it. Anyway, Bobby, interesting thing going on there. But to get back to the point, so we all can go home, because we've been wasted almost 3 hours of your life now. I think it's a good episode against all odds. Like it shouldn't be a good episode, but it is. I found it compelling. I found it interesting. It's so over the top, and yet, again, when you have emotional beats that make sense and consistent character work, you can get away with some plot ridiculousness.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's, it's the same thing I said last week about Joey Herrick. If you're really funny and write it really well, you can, it can be silly. And the same thing here, just not silly. And David sort of like has proven in back-to-back episodes that you can be a ridiculous plot or utterly silly and still be good if it's really well written and the emotional and character work is consistent. So all that, I don't think I'm not going to give it a 9, but I am going to give it a 8.83.
I think that's going to average it just below Joey Herrick episode.
Just below Joey Herrick.
Exactly what you want. Exactly what Keith wants. You bitch.
My evil scheme the whole time. Well, that's just what happens because I get to go second. I'm in charge of this thing.
So
and you need to be in charge of the Easter egg.
My guess would be that that's what they wheeled Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs.
That's exactly right. Well done. Way to get that sir. Easter egg. Yeah.
Well, would you like to get wheeled out of here? I bet you would.
I sure would. Wheel us out, music. Thank you for listening to the Out of Practice podcast. If you would like to write to us and communicate with us, you can find us on email at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Out of Practice Podcast. While you're at it, do us a favor. I don't know, just to spite us at this point, leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other service of your choice. Let me tell you, there are some people out here who do not spite us. They support us. They are our founding sponsors: Jorge Navoa, Cloud Lover 69, Leanne Wrights, Jennifer Masanova, and Kari Coon.
Did you know you can become one of those? We can wheel your money right into our podcast. Don't know where it goes. It's sitting there, and we're going to buy Keith a data in the red commander's uniform.
Oh, yeah.
You can do that by clicking one of the two links in our show notes, a monthly contribution or a one-time contribution. We do appreciate it. Hey, tell people that Keith and I, despite our best efforts, somehow are still funny and somewhat charismatic and engaging, and have them listen to the show anyway.
I wouldn't go that far.
Or just watch the Star Trek show like everybody else does. Guys, do you know the worst part about consuming human flesh? It's dismembering the body. Don't get a bone saw. Don't use a kitchen knife. Just get out your laser and shoot off some laser sound.
Cannibalistic laser sounds.